Part 86. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 870. Alan was on the front line and constantly issued orders to various combat teams to prevent the advance of the Purifier Sequence mechanical warriors and maintain the integrity of the front. If the front line is breached and the Angel Legion is dispersed the next day, the only outcome that will greet them next is to be surrounded and killed by the Eternal Ascended Ones. But such a conspicuous target as Alan has long been among the enemy's priority targets. Some mechanical warriors broke through the interception of the Angel warriors regardless of casualties and rushed to its vicinity, hoping to destroy the Angel commander first. Faced with this scene, no Angel warrior chose to leave their posts and come to support their Legion commander, because they knew that Alan was stronger than most of the Angels here. Regarding the mechanical warriors approaching her, Alan just raised the Sword of Judgment in her hand and waved it, and a flaming slash of more than 10 meters long passed over the bodies of these enemies and cut them open. The mechanical warrior who was not on the same level as his companions had his upper body cut off with a sword by Alan, who followed closely, and he lost his ability to move on the spot. But soon, the Angel warriors also began to suffer casualties after the initial suppression period, because the mechanical warriors of the Purifier sequence were mixed with destroyer models. Although these mechanical weapons developed to fight against God-level angels are still far behind the battle gods, they are enough to pose a fatal threat to high-level angels and ordinary angels. It often takes several angels to fight against them, but there are also hunters in the Angel Legion who specialize in hunting them down, that is, the captains of various chapters. In addition to commanding local operations, their main responsibilities are also responsible for clearing out enemies on these battlefields. Powerful unit. But this time, the chapter masters of these second angels also felt difficult, because there were more saboteurs than in any previous battle. Some angel warriors are using their lives to buy time for their companions. Heikawi, go and help Alan deal with those high-sequence mechanical warriors. I can handle them here. Binghua said in a deep voice that she felt a little distressed about the casualties of the angel warriors, because the numerical gap between the two sides was so huge, reaching a terrifying dozens to 1 ratio. If it weren't for the powerful mobility of angels and the fact that some high-level angels were bombarding and dividing the enemy's array, ordinary angels would have suffered extremely horrific casualties under the enemy's concentrated fire attack. Now every bit of power is precious, and a warrior with the level of divine wings should not be trapped by his side. Hizui looked at Binghua, then turned to look at the angels and mechanical warriors who were having a fierce battle around him, gritted his teeth and said, "Then please pay attention to safety. If an enemy comes over, contact me immediately and I will rush over to provide support." After saying that, Hizui turned around and fanned his angel wings, turning into a silver stream of light and rushing out of the space-time shield, and plunged into the dense array of eternal sublimation. To be honest, Hizui is not good at large-scale AoE energy bombing. She specializes in single-point algorithms for destroying matter and energy. With her exclusive weapon-breaking blade, most matter in the known universe cannot withstand her attack twice. Facing these mechanical warriors whose whole bodies were made of metal, Hichui could split them in half with every blow. Such an efficient move to kill the mechanical warriors naturally attracted the encirclement and suppression of high-sequence mechanical warriors. The two saboteurs surrounded Heikawi one after another. While she was dealing with the purifier beside her, they rushed towards Heikawi at the same time and wanted to kill him on the spot, eliminating one of Angel's senior combatants. "You rags and scraps still want to kill me. Just increase the number 10 times more." Hichui kicked the chest of the mechanical warrior in front of him until it was dented. He turned around and swept out his sword to knock the destroyer backwards. He turned around and swung 2 swords in quick succession. The energy blade in the destroyer's hand, which could collide with the sword of normal flames without causing any damage, was directly cut off by Hizui's swift attack, followed by a replica of the previous one, and the purifying energy field on his body was also broken. Chui turned around and swept him away with a whip kick, then accelerated his body to catch up with him and stabbed him through the torso. Chui's series of movements just made the other saboteur escape. By the time he caught up with Chui, his companions had been torn to pieces. At this time, Zui turned around and rushed towards the high-sequence mechanical warrior who was eating ashes behind her without fear. The two swords destroyed the weapons in his hands, breaking through the energy field defense, and easily destroyed him. It was easy only for Zui. If each angel chapter leader wanted to destroy a destroyer, he first needed to break through their purification energy field defense before they could cause effective damage to them. The purifying energy field can even withstand the flame bombardment of ordinary angels, which is enough to show that its defense power is very excellent. After he chased the destroyer, surging red energy appeared on the broken blade in his hand. He slashed out 5 giant flame slashes with a length of more than 10 meters towards the densest area of mechanical warriors, clearing the queue of eternal ascended ones. Create a small area. Tisk, we can't kill them all, but the number is getting more and more. Zui took the time to look around and muttered to herself, and she also discovered that with the casualties of the angel warriors, Elan was gradually unable to maintain the defense line. But hope always comes at the most critical moment. The angel responsible for building the communication channel shouted in the communication. Contacted the Sky Sword system. The gate of time and space is about to carry out the second wave of ultra-long-distance space delivery, and it will carry a super-large energy deflection field generator. Binghua's tense mind relaxed a little after hearing this, and her eyes fell on Samailo in the distant universe through the space-time shield. She was ready to show him some color. Less than 5 minutes after the angel reported the good news, the space above Binghua and the others shattered like a mirror, and a blue beam of light descended, covering a large area of space, with the figures of judgment angels inside it. Gradually solidify. Support our sisters. Fight off these mechanical bastards. Angel Rand's voice echoed in the communication channel, like a shot in the arm, greatly boosting the morale of the Angel Legion that was struggling with the mechanical warriors on the second day. Angel Rand is different from Zui. With the title of Thunder God of War, her destructive power is not limited. As soon as she arrived on the battlefield, the thunder sword in her hand began to burst out with dazzling thunder and lightning. The next moment, dazzling thunder and lightning erupted, and thunderbolts as thick as buckets kept jumping back and forth among the purifier mechanical warriors. The dazzling light of lightning illuminated this slightly dim space area brightly and uncertainly. Queen, the Judgment Angel Legion has arrived on the battlefield. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 871. Ran, you came just in time to help Elan stabilize the front, and also set up the energy deflection shield you brought for me. While Binghua and Ran were communicating, their companions who were providing fire support behind the mechanical warriors who were fighting the Second Angel Legion suddenly began to retreat. Elan immediately thought of something when he saw this, his expression changed slightly, and he immediately ordered each battle group to break away from the battle and retreat quickly. However, some angel warriors were trapped in a tight siege and could not evacuate in a short time. As expected, Elan's thoughts came true. Samailo once again launched the super-large ray cannon, and the blue purifying energy was like an eraser that resets the world, instantly occupying the sight of all the angels present. Some angel warriors who did not have time to withdraw from the space-time shield supported by the ice flower were washed away by the particle flow of purifying energy. The protective force field of the armor and body was exhausted, and the entire body disintegrated into nothingness like ashes. Samilo's attack made no distinction between friend and foe, killing almost 10 times as many of his own troops as the fallen angels, but according to Samilo's calculations, it was worth it. Because the mechanical warriors of the purifier sequence are not precious, they are lost and rebuilt, but the opportunity to destroy the angel warriors is extremely precious. This scene made Elan grit his teeth angrily. This was the largest reduction in the number of his army since coming to the world of justice. More than 2,000 angels perished in the blow just now. Among them were veteran warriors who were nearly 10,000 years old, as well as recruits who were 2 or 3,000 years old. Alan felt her heart throbbing. Not only Alan, Binghua also felt a surge of anger in her heart. She had watched the development of the Angel of Justice world. Most of the recruits of the Second Angel Legion chose to become warriors because they admired her. How long will it take to complete the erection? Facing the goddess's question, the Judgment Angel, who was quickly building an energy deflection shield, quickly replied. It still takes half an hour, goddess. We have assembled most of the main body. After that, we only need to build the nodes and we can start it. These Judgment Angels have heard a hint of anxiety and impatience in the goddess's tone. Of course, they don't feel good in their hearts. Those who died are all their sisters and compatriots. Okay, I can still afford to wait for half an hour. Don't be anxious. You must not make any mistakes, otherwise all the angels here will fall. Binghua calmed down his heart and calmed down a little, so that his emotions would not affect the work of his angels. Ran, Ailan and Hizui met together, and with a tacit understanding, they did not go to Binghua who was busy, but began to discuss how to fight next. Samilo is exchanging battle losses for the lives of our soldiers. If this continues, we will be very passive. Ailan sighed and said, as the first echelon who came here with Binghua, he has the clearest understanding of the current battle situation. Not long after I arrived here, I discovered that the large cosmic fortress of the Eternal Ascended One was moving towards our two wings. It is expected that it will hit us hiding behind the shield from the side of the Queen's space-time shield within an hour. If this continues, we will become more passive, and by then even the Queen will no longer be safe. Ran had just arrived, but he keenly discovered some small movements of the Eternal Ascended One. We have to find a way to interrupt Samilo's bombardment first. If this continues, in a universe without bunkers, we will just be targets. You have also seen the scene just now. We can't get out of the Queen's space-time shield at all. Once we get out, we will face that level of bombardment. If we don't solve this problem, we can't do anything. Hizui also intervened, but this also made Ailan and Ran fall into thinking. It is true that Samilo's attack coverage is too large. If you want to destroy the opponent's weapons system, you must have an equal weapons, otherwise you can only choose risky skirmish assault tactics. But it is obvious that Samilo will not let them approach him easily. The army of mechanical warriors, which is large enough to overwhelm the Angel Legion, is a gap between the two. If you want to cause harm to Samilo, you must cross this gap. Chasm. While they were discussing how to counter the Eternal Ascended Ones, the other side also took action again. The Purifier mechanical warriors that had just retreated pressed forward again and began to snipe at the Angel warriors with their own purification ray guns. Seeing this, Hizui couldn't help but curse in a low voice, because this was obviously an attempt to seduce their Angel warriors to attack. When the two sides were entangled, a bombing while cold could directly reduce a fraction of their Angel army. Troops. But this is a conspiracy. If you don't attack, you can only be beaten passively. It is purely a slow death. We can only order the soldiers to attack to meet the enemy. Don't let them go deep. Samilo may launch an attack at any time. Ailan sighed, feeling a little depressed. Seeing this, Ran said. That's all we can do, but the two Eternal Ascended fortresses close to our flanks also need to be destroyed, otherwise we will soon have to endure long-distance bombings from the opponent's railguns. I'm going to kill the one on the left. Hizui said aloud, took one of them, met the worried eyes of Ailan and Ran. She smiled and said. What? You don't believe I can get rid of it? Don't worry, even if I can't get rid of it, I can still paralyze it there. Okay, I'll leave the one on the left to you, and I'll destroy the one on the right. Ran also took over one of the Eternal Ascended fortresses, but the remaining Elan could only say helplessly, "Then the battlefield command and dispatch will be left to me." After the division of labor was completed, Ran and Hakowi immediately began to take action. After saying hello, the two turned into two streams of light and rushed out of the protection range of the space-time shield, entering the army of Purifier Sequence mechanical warriors. But neither Ran nor Hakowi had any intention of entangled with these mechanical warriors. Their goal was the giant metal fortress that was slowly moving behind them. These two fortresses are actually just large-scale defense platforms arranged by Samilo on the periphery of the planetary system. Although they are not huge in size, they are still tens of kilometers in length. They don't look like much from a distance, but as Hakowi gradually gets closer, even she also felt a bit of pressure. It's not because he is worried that he can't destroy it, but because he can't destroy it in a short time, because apart from the conventional flame bombing and the Skyblade judgment, Hizui has not learned any other large-scale energy destruction algorithms. Even with these two algorithms, Hichui can only be said to be proficient, and cannot reach the level of mastery like Elan. It takes a long time to accumulate energy when using them. And now in this situation where the lone army is going deep, the enemy will definitely not be able to use it. It would give her time to launch a bombing. Fellow veterans, get more monthly tickets and recommended tickets, there will be more later, it may be late. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 872. As he chased and ran went to destroy the fortress of the Eternal Ascended Ones, Elan also engaged in flexible combat with the Eternal Ascended Ones. When the Purifiers exited the safe range estimated by Elan, the attacking angel warriors would turn back. Return. Although this will allow the mechanical warriors to fire a few more rounds of purification rays and cause some casualties, the risk of being taken advantage of by Samilo is greatly reduced. The angels who set up the energy deflection shield are also quickly fixing the nodes. This is the only barrier for the arrival of the Justice World Army. Otherwise, it only takes a few rounds of shooting by Samilo to make this annihilation battle against Samilo fail. Ran on the other side passed through the layers of resistance from the mechanical warriors, and finally approached the fortress of the Eternal Ascended One. The purification railgun that originally bombed the space-time shield immediately turned its muzzle to bomb in the direction of Angel Ran. Waves of surging purifying energy beams exploded near Ran, and the energy shock spread in all directions, making Ran feel as if she was facing a storm, but this alone could not stop her. Lightning and thunder turned into the most primitive energy impact, entangled with each other and bombarded the giant purification energy field of the fortress, causing a large number of energy arcs. Taking advantage of the brief period when it was unable to fight back due to the operation of the purifying energy field, Ran immediately changed direction and began to look for the weak spot in its firepower, and it didn't take long to find it. Ran raised the thunder sword in his hand and began to introduce thunder tactics. He used energy conversion technology to start converting the majestic dark energy into thunder energy, and used the force field of the weapon engine to tightly compress it at the edge of his weapon, forming a layer of undulating blazing blue energy flame. After completing all this, Ran ignored the incoming purifying energy beam and stabbed the thick purifying energy field of the fortress in front of him with his sword. For a moment, the place where the two came into contact lit up with a dazzling energy light. The spreading thunder and lightning and the floating purifying energy particles were entangled with each other, as brilliant as countless energy ribbons blooming. However, the person who caused this scene frowned slightly. The strength of the fortress's purifying energy field was too high. But she was once the holy left wing of the angelic civilization, the ultimate war weapon that integrated the most cutting-edge technologies of the angelic civilization. The gene engine suddenly increased its output, and the speed at which the thunder sword consumed and purified the energy field finally exceeded the speed at which it could be repaired. Ran directly held the thunder sword and used the method of piercing the surface to break through the purifying energy field of the Eternal Ascended One and reach his close fire range. But the fortress's purification rail guns can't damage Ran, not to mention the close-range defense guns whose firepower is several levels weaker. At this moment, the Eternal Sublimator is like a girl without any resistance in front of Ran, waiting, violating her assailant. On the other side, He-Chui broke through the purification energy field first, rushed into the fortress and started to destroy it. After all, unlike Ran's method of breaking magic with force, He-Chui directly used his own breaking blade and his own the energy oscillation algorithm caused the purification energy field in an area to collapse. However, He-Chui also encountered a little trouble, that is, the internal structure of the fortress was very complicated, and there were various defensive facilities that hindered her destruction. Judging from the strength of the defensive facilities, they should not be targeted at their angels, because the power is too low. He-Chui, who originally wanted to find the fortress energy reactor and detonate the energy to destroy it, found that this was too slow and began to use flame bombing to continuously destroy various facilities inside the fortress. The Eternal Ascended Fortress, which was originally sailing towards the left wing of the Angel Legion, gradually stopped sailing and became paralyzed as the interior continued to be destroyed. But before He-Chui could come out, a large number of purifier sequence mechanical warriors and some saboteurs poured into the fortress. For a while, He-Chui was tightly entangled and could not escape from the fortress because there were too many enemies. If He-Chui hadn't been able to crush these mechanical warriors in terms of combat power, I'm afraid she would have been killed by the sheer numbers of these mechanical warriors. Ran, who attacked the fortress on the right wing, encountered the same situation as He-Chui, but Ran, who was proficient in thunder tactics, was not afraid of dealing with soldiers who were much weaker than him. As soon as the thunder and lightning are released, the purifier mechanical warriors who cannot withstand the baptism of high-intensity lightning will be scrapped on the spot, leaving only the few saboteurs who rely on the purification energy field to withstand the attack. But the number of destroyers is still relatively small compared to the number of purifiers, so it is not difficult to deal with these guys. The reason why the Eternal Ascended Ones frequently failed in their wars with the Just World was because these war gods who stood at the top of the known universe protected the Just World and cleared away the high-sequence mechanical warriors that they could not compete with. Otherwise, every time the Just World destroys a high-sequence mechanical warrior, a large number of human lives must be taken to replace it. It can be said that it is because of the silent efforts of these angels for thousands of years that the Just World can grow to a level that is now troublesome even for the Eternal Ascended Ones. He-Chui, who went to destroy the fortress of the Eternal Ascended, was trapped, and Ran was entangled. Alan also felt that the front he commanded could not hold out for long. As the angels who built the energy deflection barrier loudly announced in the communication that the erection was completed, Alan knew that the battle to annihilate the Semi-Lo host would enter the next stage, and their angel army would no longer fight alone. Binghua lowered her left hand that was holding the space-time shield with the force field and moved her fingers a few times. The tense nerves slowly relaxed. This was the first time she had controlled the Titan's grip for so long, nearly 2 hours. Even with Binghua's the brain that has been trained for a long time can't help but feel mentally exhausted. How long can the energy deflection barrier last? Binghua asked the angel who built the super-large energy deflection barrier. Based on the previously calculated attack intensity of Semi-Lo, the time and space deflection barrier can deflect the opponent's attacks approximately 10 times. After that, our energy will be exhausted, but by that time the time and space gate should have delivered a new energy source. But Goddess, I'm worried that if there is any accident that causes the gate of time and space to fail to deliver the energy source in time, we will be afraid. The angel didn't say the rest of the words clearly, but Binghua knew in his heart that not a few of the angel warriors here would survive. In that case, let's regard this as the energy source of the energy deflection barrier. As Binghua spoke, she reached out from the open wormhole and took out a miniature star wrapped in a hollow silver metal square. This was originally a gift she planned to give to He-11. Not enough. Since there is a need for energy now, let's take it out for temporary use. I believe that with the size of a star, it shouldn't cost much. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 873. Looking at what the goddess handed to her, the hands of the angel responsible for constructing the energy deflection barrier were trembling slightly, because this thing was too precious, and because she knew that what she was holding in her hands was not a simple energy source, but a star in the universe. This miniature star that can serve as an energy source is currently the only one in Binghua's possession that has been successfully sealed and can stably output energy. It can only serve as an energy source for certain equipment, and cannot be controlled by weapon engines to control the energy flow. Unless it is treated as a disposable item and the shell that seals it is opened, the star whose interior is compressed by space and restricted by the force field will expand to its original size in a very short time. A planet will be swallowed up by it in an instant, and the entire planetary system will cause an unknown reaction due to the gravitational collision between the two stars that even Binghua does not know about. However, the planetary system will be disturbed, and the planet's orbit will be disrupted. Chaos is certain. After the miniature star and the energy deflection barrier were successfully connected, Binghua finally looked at Samilo. But just when Binghua turned around, the space in the universe behind her shattered again. This time the space projection was far greater than the previous angel ran. With a male voice, dense angel warriors filled up the energy deflection barrier, a large vacancy of space. Queen, your loyal commander of the First Angel Legion has led your warriors to the battlefield. Kaza is the only angel in the world of justice who has been promoted to commander, because the size of his First Angel Legion is larger than the Judgment Angel Legion and the Second Angel Legion combined. The reason for this is mainly because it is easier for Kaza's First Angel Legion to recruit new recruits, and also because the mixed male and female angel regiments make it easier to be accepted by the angels of the righteous world. For example, Alan's Second Angel Legion only recruits female angels, while the Judgment Angel Legion is drawn from the active Judgment Angels, and its number is also the smallest. However, for comparison, one battle group from each of the several legions was selected. The battle groups of the First Angel Legion were almost exclusively second-generation angels. Only the team leader and group leader were high-level angels or god-level angels. The Second Angel Legion has achieved the goal of having a high-level angel in each combat team, and only god-level angels can serve as group leaders. The Judgment Angel Legion is the most special. As the law enforcement and supervision agency of the righteous world, most of the legions are high-level angels, and there are even more than 10 god-level angels. But the size of the Judgment Angel Legion is really not that big. Although it is called a legion, it is only the size of 3 battle groups. It's just the right time. Although I really want to say this, please bring your soldiers to me immediately to replace the soldiers of the Second Angel Legion. Binghua gave instructions, and at the same time, the angel wings behind her spread out and led her body towards Samilo. What Binghua wanted to do was very simple, that is, let Samilo know that he was not a coward who only knew how to get beaten. As soon as Binghua rushed out, he ran into a dense crowd of eternal ascended mechanical warriors. Seeing this, Binghua's expression turned cold and he opened his left hand to grab the front. The invisible force field began to extend toward the vast space ahead, covering a large area of space ahead in the blink of an eye. As Binghua squeezed hard, the diffused force field energy quickly solidified, and the purifier sequence mechanical warrior inside felt as if he had suddenly arrived from the ground to a deep sea tens of thousands of meters away. Incomparable terrifying pressure was exerted on all parts of the body, the solid armor began to peel off and twist, the alloy frame also began to deform, and the energy transmission circuits everywhere continued to explode with sparks. As the ice bloom passed over the position of these mechanical warriors, the force field exerted on them began to dissipate, but their bodies remained forever at the moment of being crushed and twisted. Almost at a speed visible to the naked eye, the densely packed mechanical warriors on the battlefield were wiped out by the ice flower, which made the suppressed angels feel that they were finally angry. Semialo naturally noticed the conspicuous force field manipulation and discovered that Binghua was marked as an extremely dangerous existence in his database. The supergiant ray cannon originally aimed at the Angel Legion immediately aimed at Binghua's position. The next second, the blue torrent of purifying energy covered the figure of Binghua across most of the galaxy. Seeing this, Alan couldn't help but feel a little worried, because the current Binghua did not hold up the space-time shield. A few minutes passed, and after the torrent of purifying energy gradually disappeared, Binghua's figure suddenly appeared, and the space around him was hazy, as if it were twisted air burned by high temperature. Semialo, I can even grab stars, but this level of energy impact alone cannot kill me. Binghua's voice circulated in the open communication channel, and she knew that Seminary could definitely hear her words. King of Angels, why are you obstructing my purification? The chaos virus is about to break through my blockade and spread out. Your actions are leading to the destruction of this universe. The emotionless words echoed in Binghua's communication channel, using the angelic language that Binghua was most familiar with. When have I ever obstructed your purification? It's you who has repeatedly started wars against the righteous world. Binghua was a little amused when he heard Semilo's remarks, and retorted on the spot. The world of justice will be a hotbed for the incubation of chaos. Flesh and blood life has no ability to resist the invasion of chaos. Only by purifying all flesh and blood life around chaos can the spread of chaos be contained. While Semialo mobilized more mechanical warriors to encircle and suppress the Angel Legion, he activated the galaxy-level defense system. For a time, rays that could penetrate the stars were shot out from the mechanically modified planets, forming a criss-crossing fire network. But Binghua's form is too small. The galaxy-level defense system is designed to deal with large groups of chaotic beasts and biological battleships, including Semilo's super-large purification ray cannon. Its characteristics are its wide strike range and long-term irradiation capability, which can continuously kill enemies. But when you encounter an individual soldier with super-destructive power like Binghua, it feels a bit like a cannon hitting a mosquito, and this mosquito can smash the cannonballs into pieces. Semiro's core was frantically performing simulation calculations, trying to find a way to eliminate the troublesome existence of Binghua. On the other side, it began to mobilize defense platforms in the galaxy, intending to slow down her progress. In addition to these, a closed warehouse in the star factory where the Semilo host was located began to open, and a being inside who looked very similar to Binghua was activated. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 874. These individual mechanical warriors in the execution sequence based on Destroyer 101 were used by Semilo to deal with the god-level angels in the world of justice. Although 101 was defeated in the battle with the Angel King, even the main body were destroyed. But 101 proved that it was powerful enough to easily kill high-level angels. So after 101 was recovered, Semilo immediately used the Ice Flower battle data she collected to create an execution with a more single function and scope of application. The sequence of mechanical warriors. However, due to the rush of time and the use of a large amount of precious alloys and resources in the design, the output has not increased for the time being. Only 200 have been built in a few years. Originally, Semilo was planning to accumulate tens of thousands of units and launch it again. A war of annihilation against the just world. But now that the opponent has come to the door, the destroyer sequence is either blocking the Chaos Army in the Chaos Star territory, or the Chaos virus has escaped from the purification of the universe and will not be able to come back in a short time. Otherwise, Semilo would never use these newly developed super weapons, because he knew that as long as they were used, the righteous world would begin to develop methods against this kind of mechanical warriors. Like myself, the other party is equally good at reverse engineering and imitation manufacturing, and the other party is still using taboo biotechnology. This must not be allowed. The meaning of my existence is to eliminate the chaos virus, and I must not allow the birth of another chaos virus. The mechanical warriors in the executor sequence are not destroyers without intelligence and only have autonomous computing cores. Instead, they are equipped with autonomous intelligent computing cores with a certain degree of learning ability. This is Semiro's latest research result, because in this way there is no need to write complicated mimic personalities, they can be allowed to evolve independently. In this way, these powerful executors can replace the destroyer sequence to a certain extent. This is why Samilo gave them this name. They will become executors with independent capabilities in the future. But now these beings who are still in obscurity will step onto the battlefield to fight their prototypes. To a certain extent, their fate is somewhat sad. But what these Binghua didn't know was that she was currently being attacked by the large defense platforms in the galaxy defense systems of several Eternal Ascenders. The attack direction was all three-dimensional, and even Binghua needed some brains to avoid it. Of course, she can also choose to resist forcefully, but the physical feeling is secondary, and the energy and mental loss must be paid attention to, because this war has just begun, and no one knows how long it will last. Binghua also tried to break through to the host of Samilo and give the opponent a hard blow, but all the firepower of the galaxy-level defense system was aimed at her alone. It was too dense. Her third-generation divine body, although it is powerful, it cannot always be bathed in the purifying energy. Although this energy can only rely on the erosion of its own energy particles to destroy the angel's divine body, it can eventually cause damage to the divine body, and the damage to the divine body will be higher as time goes by. Of course, Samilo has made some achievements after studying angel and Kamigawa technology for so long. If it weren't for the huge gap between the dark plane technology and the mechanical engineering and data intelligence that Samilo is proficient in, he would have imitated it long ago. The so-called God of War. Binghua's other concern was that the mechanical warriors manufactured by Samilo had shown space-based attack methods, which made Binghua dare not rush forward rashly for fear of falling into a trap. Not to mention other attack methods, a space banishment alone is enough to make Binghua throw the rat into a trap. Now this battlefield cannot be without him, otherwise there will be no existence to protect him. And now is not the time to make a desperate move. The army of the world of justice is about to arrive. At that time, Samilo's military advantage will be weakened. All it takes is to pull out the large metal fortresses in the universe one by one, and Samilo will be eliminated. It's only a matter of time. After all, the war with Samilo is different from the known universe. In the known universe, the main god is the core of civilization, and the main god can escape. If you do not destroy the main god of the hostile civilization, you will have to face a main god who has no worries. Revenge. This is also the reason why the god-making civilizations in the known universe have constant conflicts, but no all-out war has ever broken out, because the conflict between Dino and Liang told everyone that there is no absolute winner in the war between gods. If the Nyo Star god of war had taken advantage of the sun god's absence to attack the Liang civilization, half of the Liang stars would have been left. Although Binghua did not rush into the core of Semiro's host and the central star field, it still has the ability to cause some losses to the opponent. The force field spreads to cover a large galaxy defense platform, quickly consuming the purification energy field on its surface. Then, like a bowling ball, this large fortress, which was comparable in size to the Skyblade battleship, was thrown by Binghua towards another metal fortress that was still firing at her. Even though there was no sound propagating in the universe, Binghua seemed to hear a bang. The collision of two giant objects tens of kilometers away caused a huge shock wave. Even the purifying energy field of the metal fortress could not withstand such a huge kinetic energy blow. The impact part was directly dented, and the escaping energy burned the armor, like a burning flame. Binghua frowned slightly at the fact that the metal fortress did not explode. He did not expect that the creation of the eternal sublimator was stronger than expected. Since the kinetic energy strike was not effective, let's try another method. He reached out and made a move, and a long sword with a length of nearly 3 meters appeared. The sharp blade took up a quarter of its entire length. It was covered with sacred language-like symbols, and was inlaid with the root of the sword. A shimmering miniature pseudo-star core. The star-piercing gun was one of Binghua's products when he was developing micro-star driving technology. After capturing the star, Binghua embedded part of the star's energy into a pseudo-star on the star-piercing gun as its energy core. This spear, called the star-piercing spear, also has a very simple function. One of them is to release the energy of the simulated star to form a giant blade shaped by energy. The specific size can be changed according to the user's adjustment. The second function is to release energy impact heat rays formed by star energy forward. There is no upper limit on the duration until the energy of the embedded simulated star is exhausted. Binghua took it out now because now was the best time to use it. Binghua held the star-penetrating gun in one hand and pointed the sharp blade at the metal fortress that was still firing. The next second, the blade turned fiery red, burning like a raging flame. Thick stellar heat rays spurted out forward. The solid armor of the metal fortress melted into liquid in an instant under the burning of the star's rays, and the fortress body, which was more than 10 kilometers thick, was blasted through in less than 10 seconds. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 875. In just a few minutes, the 2 metal fortresses that came to block Binghua were destroyed, but 3 more metal fortresses had already approached again. Binghua didn't even bother to move. He slightly adjusted the direction of the star-piercing spear in his hand, and the star rays spurted out like a light knife and cut into the newly arrived metal fortress. While Binghua continued to destroy the metal fortress of the Eternal Ascended Ones with his star-piercing spear, Alan commanded the 2nd Angel Legion and the Judgment Angel Legion, and cooperated with Kazaw's 1st Angel Legion to finally destroy the purifier sequence that was close to the energy deflection barrier. The army of mechanical warriors has almost been wiped out. The angel responsible for building the energy deflection barrier, after receiving the miniature star energy source given by the goddess, no longer had any scruples. When the 2 sides were fighting, they continued to expand the range of the energy deflection shield. Semiolo also tried a few times to attack the energy deflection shield. As a result, the energy beam fired by the super-large purification energy ray cannon was directly deflected from the attack trajectory by the energy deflection barrier, and all of them hit areas where there was no target. Cosmic space. Due to the lack of large-scale fire support from Seminary, the results achieved by the mechanical warriors were extremely limited. After the Angel Legion wiped out the mechanical warriors around them, Seminary stopped sending out mechanical warriors. Seeing that Semiolo's offensive had slowed down, Hyuka also stopped her advance. If Semiolo wanted a truce, she would beg for it, because what the world of justice lacks now is time. Goddess, we have built a large range of energy deflection barrier nodes, and we will soon be able to create a safe space. After Binghua returned to the energy deflection barrier, the angel responsible for constructing the barrier came to report. You have done a great job and continue to expand the scope. As long as we can build a large enough safe space, we will have a 50% chance of winning this war. The angel responsible for constructing the barrier was extremely happy when she heard this. She felt that her efforts were not in vain and she had received the approval of the goddess. Because of the retreat of the Eternal Ascended Ones, Ran and Haikawi who were trapped also rushed back after clearing the enemies around them. They only suffered some minor injuries, but it was nothing serious. Thank you for your hard work. Without your bloody fighting, the Justice World would never be able to establish a safe space delivery area here. Binghua said to Ilan, Ran, Haikawi, and the other angel warriors who had retreated to rest. Binghua, you're out of touch now, aren't we? Aren't we part of a just world? Hizui rolled his eyes at Binghua, feeling that the other person was talking useless nonsense. Ilan and Ran just smiled and said nothing. The angel warrior below felt very happy when facing the goddess's praise, as if he had received some great honor. Even the eyes looking at his colleagues in the First Angel Legion were filled with pride. Binghua did not stop this phenomenon. Sometimes competition between armies was a necessary condition to maintain progress. Of course, you need to control this degree yourself, otherwise it would be bad to create a gap with your colleagues. Kaza also flew over at this time. Since the various angel legions arrived in a hurry, Binghua and several of his legion executives started a wartime meeting in the universe. Queen, when I set off, part of the expedition fleet was already preparing to enter the gate of time and space. I believe it won't take long to deliver them. Kaza spoke first, bringing the latest news from the Justice World, which was also the information that the angels present were most concerned about. This is indeed good news, but the range of our energy deflection barrier is not large enough. If the gate of time and space delivers too many fleets at once, I am afraid it will be directly exposed to Samilo's artillery fire. As the commander-in-chief of the battlefield, Alan expressed his concerns. There is no need to worry about this. I have already ordered the construction angel to continue to expand the scope of the barrier. Now, as long as everything goes well, we will soon be able to open up a large safe space. At that time, we will spread out and advance, cannibalizing Samilo's defense system from all directions, and pull out all his exposed fangs. Binghua's words seemed to have some kind of magic power. After hearing the words, both Angel Ran and Elan nodded slightly, with goals in mind for the next battle. Although the current difficulties encountered by the angels are not included in the battle plan, with the efforts of angel warriors like them, the plan to annihilate Samilo is still moving forward according to the established steps. Queen, I don't know anything about grand strategy. Just tell me where to fight. The only person who is relatively heartless is Kaza. He is not outstanding in strategic skills. Although he can understand what the Queen and others are saying, he can't get in the middle of the conversation. In the end, he can only express his position like this, expressing his willingness. Follow orders. Just when the angels were confirming the next strategic target, the mechanical army of eternal ascenders that had stopped attacking made movement again. It was still the densely packed purifier sequence mechanical warriors that led the battle, with a few destroyers mixed in among them. What made the angels present frown the most was that in the army pressing forward, a common combat unit of the Eternal Ascended, the Purification Fleet, appeared. This means that in addition to the difficult mechanical warriors, the Eternal Ascendants also have the firepower advantage of the Purification flagship. This is not good news for the angels who need to protect the energy deflection barrier. I miss my friends in God's fleet a little now. Seeing this, Kaza said something humorous in the communication channel, but no angel could appreciate his humor at the moment. What is Samilo going to do? He should already know that I am here, and he has put up such a dense formation. Isn't he afraid that I will slap him and reimburse him for everything? No angel could answer Binghua's doubts, but Binghua would not miss the opportunity and pass directly through the energy deflection barrier to the outside. The Titan's hand armor on her hand lit up with the light representing the activation of the force field. And just when the force field began to extend and spread in the direction of the army of eternal ascended ones, hundreds of conical silver metal shuttles trailing blue flames suddenly appeared, breaking through the energy deflection barrier from the flanks. Before the angel warriors who were paying attention to the enemy in front could react, several barrier generators were destroyed, causing huge gaps in the barrier that was originally like a hole. The army of mechanical warriors that originally attacked from the front also immediately separated into a large wave and attacked in the direction of the gap in the barrier. This made Binghua almost curse. He didn't expect that Samilo would also engage in this tactic of building plank roads openly and secretly crossing Chenkang. The opponent's purpose is not a frontal attack at all, but to destroy the barrier generator. Although she was annoyed that the opponent had succeeded, Binghua would not miss the opportunity to eat the opponent's feint attack troops. As the force field spread by the Titan's grip covered most of the troops in front of the Eternal ascended, she did not hesitate to control the force. The field is a heavy grind. I want a ticket. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 876. As Binghua's force field energy ran over, the bodies of the mechanical warriors in the purifier sequence were distorted and deformed. The purification energy field of the purification flagship also flashed frequently, and they were about to be crushed. Only a few of the destroyers could still maintain certain actions. Ability. However, after the purifiers are crushed, the solidified force field will tell the saboteurs trying to break through that the power of the force field that can move the stars and the moon is not something their metal bodies can withstand. While Binghua was strangling the enemies in the front, the enemies who broke through the barrier also fought with the soldiers of the Angel Legion. The shuttle-shaped aircraft that relied on their mobility to spread out and destroy the barrier nodes were quickly destroyed one after another as they were pursued and intercepted by the angels. But the angel who destroyed the shuttle-shaped aircraft soon discovered that these aircraft were not that simple. Among the wreckage burning with energy flames, a figure broke through the wreckage of the aircraft and came to the outside world. The extremely goddess-like face, the rare but extremely conspicuous angel king armor, and the king's sword 7 kills in his hand that represented Binghua himself, caused many angels who saw the scene to briefly go blank in their minds. Of course, those who did this were younger angel recruits who had too little experience. Some Angel Legion veterans immediately realized that this was a fake. The soldiers of the first Angel Legion reacted the fastest and immediately became alert, because they had encountered a fake goddess in the Battle of 2846 planet system to purify the star field, and several high-level angel warriors had died as a result. The executor's sight quickly swept over the angel warriors surrounding her, looking for individuals who were more threatening, and soon some high-level angels were individually marked out. Immediately, the bionic angel wings behind the executor class incited and pulled out a brilliant blue stream of light, which directly broke into the angel formation surrounding her. The imitation 7 killing king sword in her hand bloomed with blue flames. Facing a high level, the angel just swung his sword. Facing the menacing blow from the fake goddess, the high-level angel waved his weapon to meet the attack without fear. A ball of energy impact suddenly spread. The high-level angel only felt a huge impact coming, and he couldn't help it. Back away. The brightness of the blue shimmer gushing from the tips of the angel wings behind the executor increased several levels in an instant. He stopped his retreating body, accelerated and chased the high-level angel who was still retreating, waving the weapons in his hands one after another. Faced with such a dense offensive, the high-level angel blocked it for a few times before being knocked away by the executor class using its strength. Then a blue arc flashed across the high-level angel's armor and chest. There was a hideous wound eroded by the purifying energy. Of course the other angels around were not watching the show, but everything happened too fast. In addition, when the executor class was fighting high-level angels, it was still moving at high speed. The angel warriors present had no time to lend a helping hand. After solving a high-level angel, the executor quickly changed direction. The ordinary angel warriors who blocked her along the way were unable to stop the executor, which also had high mobility and lethality. And because of the purification of the energy field, the Fan Shenjian, the standard weapon of the angel warriors of the world of justice, cannot even directly break through the defense when it is struck on it. Even the flaming sword can only leave a shallow slash on its body after breaking through its defense. Mark. Such an exaggerated physical defense capability was unprecedented, and some angels couldn't help but wonder if their bodies were made of the same grade of materials as the flaming sword. Moreover, the appearance of executors was not an isolated incident, but hundreds of them appeared at once, and the casualties of the angel legion skyrocketed. At this moment of the war between the angels and the eternal ascendants, the roles played by both sides seemed to be reversed. In the past, the angels used less to fight more, constantly destroying the mechanical warriors on the battlefield. But now the executor class of the eternal ascended ones are killing among the angels wantonly. The blood of the angel warriors is spilled in the starry sky, and the white wings are stained with bright red, giving them a touch of desolation. Such a scene made Elan, who was in charge of the command, frown and suppress her desire to take action, and she began to adjust her front. Ran, lead your angels of judgment to entangle those queen's impostors. Hizui, you are good at one-on-one, help me find the weaknesses of these guys as soon as possible. Ran was actually already leading his judgment angel legion towards the gap in the barrier. After receiving Elan's instructions, he even ordered in the communication. Attention, high-level angels. What we need to face this time is the mechanical replica of the Queen, which has extremely powerful combat power. Don't rush in alone and fight with God Killer. Upon hearing Ran's order, the Judgment Angels immediately began to adjust their formations, forming a closely coordinated God-killing battle formation. Some second-generation Judgment Angels retreated consciously, not intending to join the encirclement and suppression of the goddess clone. After letting Ran's Judgment Angel be responsible for dealing with these Ice Flower clones, Elan asked Kazah's first Angel Legion to block the Eternal Ascension mechanical warriors who attacked the gap. Binghua also encountered a little trouble at this moment. After she crushed 70% of the mechanical warriors and the purification fleet in front of her with her force field, a full 30 copies of herself came to find her. They actually created so many copies of me, and it turned out that the idea of quickly launching a battle to annihilate Samilo was right. Although Hyuka wants to complain about Samaro's appearance as the latest model of mechanical warrior under her command, but to be honest, these executor level ones are really not weak. Compared with the Destroyer 101 she saw last time, these seem to be mass-produced models, with almost all unnecessary functions abandoned and greatly enhanced in terms of power and defense. Although his force field ability can suppress them, it is a bit difficult to crush them in a short time. In addition, the number of opponents is a bit large and they are extremely scattered. As a last resort, Binghua also took out his 7-killing king sword and his sword for the first time in a long time. The clones surrounding him started fighting. Chui found a clone of Binghua. At first, she thought these guys were just show-offs, but as soon as they fought two swords against each other, Chui became serious. Because the power of Hyuka's clone is comparable to that of the second-generation god-level angel, it is slightly weaker than her and has not reached the point of being completely crushed. Moreover, the swordsmanship used by the opponent and Heikawi's swordsmanship are extremely high. Similar, full of uncertainty and aggression. Ran, these guys are completely weakened versions of Binghua. I have also discovered that, although I hate to admit it, if the Queen and these impostors hold the same weapons, she will be better than them. As the warrior who has followed Binghua for the longest time and is also the closest to him, Ran has a clear understanding of Binghua's combat effectiveness, because in the past, the two sides would often compete with each other, and Binghua would also experiment with new technologies he developed during the competition. Arms. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 877. He chased away an enforcer-level Binghua clone with one strike, then turned around to block another sneak-attacking Binghua clone. Where the broken blade and the imitation version of the 7 kills King Sword met, dazzling energy particles continued to burst out. Just when Hizui was about to raise his leg to kick away the clone who was in a stalemate with her, he noticed from the corner of his eye that the other person also raised his leg. The corners of Hichui's eyes twitched slightly, and the next moment Hichui bent his knees and raised himself to block the side kick swept by Binghua's clone. Taking advantage of the unstable body of the clone, Hichui pushed the opponent back with all his strength, and then immediately climbed up above his head, avoiding the swift thrust of another Binghua clone. Killing gods, you can even do this. It's not surprising that Hizui was surprised. The routine just now was obviously the god-killing operation plan number 1 in the angel tactical system. Ordinary god-level angels might be killed if they weren't careful. However, if there were only 3 clones of Binghua, her strength would be more than enough to deal with them. However, Hichui soon spun around to avoid another clone that suddenly came from the side. Vaguely, Heikui realized that at some point, 5 clones of Binghua had surrounded her. Heikui felt pressured and uttered something. Honestly, being stared at by 5 faces like this makes me a little scared. The clone Hinghua could not understand why Hichui said this, but simply assigned their respective combat orders and attack timings according to the combat methods in their database. The next second where Hizui was, streams of light passed by her location one after another, bursting out bursts of energy shock waves. After he chased and had a few head-to-head encounters with the Binghua clones that were surrounding him, he immediately accelerated his climb and began to look for opportunities to block the positions of these clones, trying to avoid being attacked by them from all directions at the same time. Hizui was entangled by the clone Binghua using god-killing tactics. Ran, Kaza, and other god-level angels were also in a similar situation and could not escape for a while. This is the first time that the Angel Legion of the World of Justice has been at a disadvantage in terms of advanced combat power in the war with the Eternal Ascended Ones. Seeing this, Ai Lan also handed over his command to his deputy, rushed into the battle circle and attracted the attention of 5 clones, Binghua. At this moment, nearly 20 of the 100 executor-level Binghua clones attacking the barrier were attracted by the top-level combat power of the sacred wings of Ai Lan, Kaza, Ran, and Hizui, and went to surround and kill them. Of the remaining 80, about 30 were held back by the chapter leaders and archangels of judgment, headed by Ziluo, Ming, and Ziyu. The remaining 50 executor-level units were divided by numerous high-level angels and god-level angels. God-level angels can still barely protect themselves as long as they are careful not to be targeted by 2 or more clones of Ice Flower, but high-level angels who use god-killing combat to fight these highest-tech crystals of Samilo are really in trouble. Gambling your life. The clone Binghua's power is not something that high-level angels can compete with. As long as there are any mistakes in the connection of the god-killing tactics, the counterfeit 7-kill sword will fall on them and cause them heavy damage. The only thing that makes the angel warriors happy is that although the weapons of the cloned Binghua can cause damage to their bodies, the injuries will not become fatal as long as they are seriously injured and retreat to a safe place to rest because it is not caused by the god-killing martial arts. Binghua, who was entangled with 30 copies of herself outside the barrier, was not so embarrassed because she had many tricks. These clones had no experience in dealing with them for the first time, so they attacked very cautiously, because those who were not careful were all reduced to numbers. One by one, the Shushen chains crisscrossed the space around Binghua. The 2 tightly bound clones kept trying to break free, but the physical hardness of the Shushen chains was something that even Binghua recognized. Unless using energy to destroy and trying to break free with brute force, even Binghua himself couldn't do it. After the previous close combat, Binghua also had a firm understanding of the performance of these mechanical warriors made by Samilo that had the same appearance as himself. The performance of its body is much higher than that of the previous destroyer in all aspects, especially in terms of power output. It can even compete with the second-generation divine body of Angel, but other than that, it is not without its shortcomings. It seems that when Samaro designed this kind of machine, he focused all its attribute points on maneuverability, structural strength, and output, resulting in its extremely single-armed weapon. Even the hand purification ray cannon that was standard for high-sequence mechanical warriors in the past. No. It completely abandoned its long-range combat capabilities, but in exchange for extremely terrifying close combat suppression, even hand-to-hand combat with machines like Binghua and Plural would be difficult, and it would even make them wish they had more hands. You must know that many male angels of the same level have never put such great pressure on Binghua. The horror of Samilo is evident. But Binghua was extremely good at dealing with enemies with a single attack method, and he quickly found weapons suitable for dealing with these guys from the arsenal. Binghua didn't even use his trump card, the neutron glaive, leaving the clones present in a dilemma. Seeing that their two colleagues were entangled in the god-binding lock, the remaining 24 clones wanted to rescue them, but the space fluctuations and the wedge-shaped god-being lock protruding from it forced them to stop themselves. Actions. The current executor class has encountered the biggest problem since its birth, that is, it has no long-range attack methods. The only thing that can cause damage to the Shensusuo is the Imitation 7 Killing King sword in his hand, but this is a melee weapon. If he approaches rashly, the two entangled companions will be his own fate. Samaro, who is paying attention to the battle situation, is also thinking about whether he should continue fighting, because the current battle situation is in a state of anxiety, but Binghua's side is likely to break through the enforcer-level siege in a short time and run to support the barrier. The battle on the other side of the gap. By that time, all of my executor class might be involved, and then I would no longer have high-end force, and it would be difficult to stop the Angel's actions. On the battlefield, Binghua was confronting these clones while quietly spreading a large-scale force field, planning to surprise these difficult clones and see if he could take them away in one wave. It's a pity that when her Yunya fought with that special clone last time, she didn't know where she exiled her. Otherwise, if the force field delayed the clone's actions and cooperated with Yunya's strangulation, she might have been killed by now. Chasing these clones. Binghua felt that if he returned to Merlot Heaven in the future, he would definitely have to make one. No, it would be safer to have two. But at this moment, the clones surrounding Binghua suddenly stopped and decisively turned away from Binghua's surroundings. The two clones entangled by the Shensu chain also slowly stopped struggling and stopped moving. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 878. Binghua thought that his act of quietly spreading the force field had been discovered, but Ilan's words in the communication let Binghua know that it was not just that. The copy sent by Samilo to attack the barrier generator also broke away from the angels fought and retreated decisively. After Binghua returned to the barrier, the Angel Legion had already eliminated the mechanical warriors who had not evacuated, and were on the battlefield rescuing their companions who had been injured by the clones. Many angels had suffered extremely serious injuries, although they would not be injured in a short time. It is life-threatening, but most combat capabilities will be lost. Moreover, if the damage to the body is not repaired, it will not be a good thing for a long time. Some minor problems will occur in the future, because the super gene of the super soldier is essentially a technological creation, and there is also slight wear and tear, and fighting with injuries will have a huge impact. Increase the appearance of this wear. How are the statistics? How many casualties are there this time? Binghua saw Ilan approaching and asked softly. There are as many as 120 high-level angels who have fallen, 3 god-level angels, and as many as 1,324 ordinary angel warriors. Ilan's expression was a bit sentimental. Although this casualty was nothing to the more than 100,000 angel warriors behind the barrier at this time, it was still a heavy blow to the angel army that had never been done before. What about the injured? When Binghua came back, he saw many angel warriors with hideous wounds on their bodies being carried back by their companions. he already had a premonition that the casualties in the battle just now would definitely not be small, but he still wanted to know the exact number. 2/3 of the high-level angels have been injured, and more than 100 of them have lost their combat effectiveness. The number of ordinary angels has exceeded 20,000, and half of them are not recommended to continue participating in the war. Many of the god-level angels were also injured, but with their divine body's recovery power, they should be fine and would not affect their continued fighting. Hearing this, Binghua turned around and looked at Semilo standing in the center of the galaxy behind the barrier, as well as the transformed planets and the large-scale galaxy defense platforms gradually approaching the barrier universe, and murmured. This Semilo annihilation battle is a bit risky after all. From the perspective of the angel civilization, I do not recommend that this war continues, because Semilo has shown us that the other party is an enemy that is evenly matched with us. This time we may really end up without success. Returned. Elan naturally heard Binghua's soliloquy, and stepped forward slightly to stand alongside Binghua, looked at Semilo's position, and expressed his opinion. But if you stand from the standpoint of a just world, even if this war is very likely to be in vain, you must continue to fight, because if this war fails to destroy Semilo, the just world will only can perish in being trapped. As for Elan's words, Binghua, as the goddess of the world of justice, doesn't know that Semilo's level of mechanical warriors has been improving rapidly in the confrontation with the world of justice. Now he has created a copy of himself, which can even attack angels. The Legion poses a huge threat. When Semilo creates a sufficient number of copies of himself, Justice World's only advantage in individual combat power will be lost. By then, not even Ice Flower will be able to prevent Justice World's destruction. Even if she is powerful enough to capture stars, so what, she will still be unable to stop the endless army of Eternal Ascended Ones, and nearly 10,000 years of hard work will be in vain. Even thinking about the worst, when the Eternal Ascended One is powerful enough, is the known universe still a safe place? When will God's fleet be delivered? Binghua asked suddenly, and Elan was stunned for a moment before he reacted. It can be delivered at any time, but our current barrier coverage is not enough. Even if the fleet comes over, it will not be fully deployed. Send a message to the Divine Throne and ask her to send the fleet over immediately, as well as a large orbital combat platform. Binghua said aloud, without giving Elan any room to refuse. Elan glanced at Binghua and turned around to carry out the order. Binghua said sorry in his heart to the incoming fleet of gods, because they were about to be involved in the battlefield between gods at close range. While the angel was slowly repairing the damaged barrier, the gate of time and space once again opened ultra-long-distance delivery. This time it was no longer a one-time delivery, but directly opened a supergiant wormhole. In the next second, streams of blue light, large and small, flew out of the wormhole and turned into destruction class, and destruction class battleships, with many large transport ships mixed in among them. At the same time, there are more than a dozen orbital defense platforms with an extremely wide metal platform and a length of more than 10 kilometers. Such a big movement made the angel warriors feel a little excited, because it made them feel that they were no longer alone. As soon as the gods' fleet arrived, it invested in the defense of the barrier node at Elan's suggestion. Super-large battleships deployed behind the barrier, with dense dark energy orbital cannon muzzles all pointed forward, on alert for the Eternal Ascended Ones. Possible sneak attack. It's such a grand event. Sometimes it's good to have more people. Hizui leaned on the edge guardrail of the orbital defense platform, looked at the busy elite legion members on the platform and said with emotion, "Dark energy turrets are assembled on the floor of the orbital platform and connected to nearby energy interfaces. This is the charm of a just world. Mortals will no longer be a burden to angels, but will become our partners in fighting together. The sacrifice of our angels is no longer for the mortals who have nothing to do with us, but for the comrades who fight bloody battles with us on the battlefield." Ran came to Hakoi's side and looked at the Justice World Legion soldiers who carried the injured angel to the orbital defense platform for treatment, and said softly, "Forget it, Ran, these words are of no use to me. We have known each other for so long, and you still don't know what kind of angel I am. It doesn't matter to me what you said. It doesn't matter if he 11 presses me against something I don't like, but as long as I like something I don't like, I don't care about bleeding for it." After Tsuryui finished speaking, he turned around and looked at the conspicuous Samilo host at the end of his line of sight behind the barrier, and added another sentence. "I don't like that guy right now. I really want to run over there and stab it with a sword." As Hizui spoke, he stretched out his finger to compare the size of the Samilo host in his sight, and said, "Looking at it this way, he doesn't look that big." Seeing Hizui's performance, Ran slightly shook her head speechlessly. She was originally worried that Hizui would be a little unaccustomed to such a cruel war because he had stayed in Merlot heaven for a long time, but now it seemed that she was overthinking it. After the arrival of God's fleet, the construction of barrier nodes was accelerated several times, and the scope of the barrier was expanding every moment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 879. Binghua stood on the edge of the orbital defense platform, rubbing his chin and thinking about what to do next. Although when formulating the plan to annihilate Samaro, the combat effectiveness of the Eternal Ascended One was maximized as much as possible, but in fact the defense of the galaxy where the Samalo host is located is stronger. During the truce between the two sides, Binghua has established a stable connection with Tianjian through the supercomputer in the orbital defense platform. The improvement in strength is naturally extremely significant, but can he break through Samilo's galaxy-level defense system alone? The outcome remains unknown. Because under Binghua's scan with the help of Tianjian's computing power, she discovered that this galaxy-level defense system was extremely clever. The core host of Samilo was the metal supergiant building that enveloped the entire star. Those modified planets in the galaxy have energy transmission channels with Samilo's host, and they should use some kind of wireless energy transmission technology. This technology was used by Justice World when attacking the Fortress of Destruction, but because he himself was the source of energy transmission, the effect was not that obvious. Because Binghua has an energy core made of miniature stars, she understands that even if she uses Titan's grip to consume the purifying energy fields that transform planets, it will be useless, because the other party also has a star-level energy source to supply energy. However, it was a bit unrealistic to simply use the force field to kill it. So if he could use another method, Binghua began to think about possible solutions. As for detonating a miniature star in this galaxy, to be honest, it would not be of much use unless it was a supernova. But the power of a supernova is too huge, and it takes a long time to catalyze it, so there is simply no time. Moreover, the supernova will smash all objects within the explosion range into the most primitive matter. After destroying Samilo, the righteous world will get nothing. Binghua's main purpose in wanting to destroy Samilo is to deal with the threat of the Eternal Ascended One, and to obtain a series of purifying energy technologies from his remains to enrich the technological reserves of the righteous world. While Binghua was analyzing Samilo, Samilo was also analyzing the situation of the forces of the Justice World. At the same time, he was also mobilizing the purification fleets scattered throughout the universe to return reinforcements, intending to annihilate this force of the Justice World in this. The reason why Samilo did not launch further offensive was because he was modifying the Executor class. Due to the lack of data, the Executor class had major design flaws. This flaw was extremely fatal when facing the Ice Flower. At the same time, automatic factories across the galaxy began to produce the Purifier series of mechanical warriors at full capacity. Of course, the destroyers will not be left behind. Those transformed planets in the galaxy, when serving as nodes of the galaxy defense system, are also producing super large automatic machines one by one. Factory. The longer time passes, the more mechanical warriors and warships these factories will produce. As for the reserves of raw materials, according to Samilo's calculations, they can produce at full capacity for at least 1 year. The only thing that makes Samaro dissatisfied is that the executor class may be discontinued because it is a newly designed body and uses some new materials and substances, resulting in a small reserve of materials. Time passed smoothly for 2 planetary days with the tacit understanding between the two parties. After these 2 days of overtime work, Justice World not only repaired the damaged barrier, but also tripled the range of the energy deflection barrier. The main fleet of the God's fleet has basically been delivered, and the originally empty space behind the barrier now has a wide metal continent, which is made up of countless orbital defense combat platforms. The commander of the God Guards, Langrim, who believes in the doctrine of intensive firepower propulsion for fortresses, also came to the starfield to serve as the commander-in-chief of the orbital defense combat platform, and applied for multiple sets of ultra-large space-time shield systems and large-scale dark energy systems from the God's throne world. Orbital turret. Under the supervision of the commander-in-chief, the orbital defense combat platform was covered with various orbital-level defense weapons and long-range strike weapons. If not for lack of time, Langrim even wanted to build a fortress world here to serve as the fulcrum of the barrier defense line. That guy Binghua has been away for more than a day, why hasn't he come back yet? Isn't she afraid that Samilo will attack and destroy us? Hizui lay on the sofa in the rest area inside the orbital defense platform. His silver hair, which was originally tied up, was now untied and scattered on the sofa. He opened his mouth and asked casually to Ran, who was sitting there. "Heikawi, can you show some respect to the queen and don't call her by her first name? This will have a bad influence. Also, the queen left because she was looking for a way to break through the defenses of the Samilo system. As long as she found it, she would naturally come back." Ran was sitting opposite Hizui, taking care of his thunder sword and checking if there was any damage to the internal energy circuit. Otherwise, if something went wrong during the battle, it would be very fatal. Is it necessary to be so serious? If Binghua were to be serious, she would still call me sister. I am older than her. Ranvinian glanced at Hizui and ignored the idiot. "Forget it, leave her alone. What do you think of those Binghua clones?" Heikawi changed the topic and started talking about the last battle. "Strong and difficult, but not invincible." Ran's answer was obviously not what Hichui had expected. She stood up suddenly from the sofa where she was lying on her back and asked in surprise. "Have you found their weakness?" "It's not a weakness. Although those clones of the queen are very powerful in hand-to-hand combat, they have no other outstanding points." After Ran finished speaking, he put down the thunder sword in his hand, looked at Hizui and continued. "And although their combat style is very similar to that of the queen, it is just a tactic calculated through simulation. That is to say, when you attack, the clones will choose appropriate moves from their own move library to deal with it." Hizui also understood what Ran meant when he heard this. Ran was most familiar with Binghua, and he must have seen this when fighting the clone. And in the information uploaded by the queen, her description and analysis of her own clone is also very useful. Those clones do not have long-range attack weapons. As long as they are restrained, they are like wild beasts without fangs and claws. No matter how ferocious they are, it is difficult to hurt a hunter. When Hizui heard this, she immediately lost interest. She didn't know how to use space confinement methods, so even if she knew the weakness, it would be of no use. As if he saw what Hizui was thinking, Ran chuckled and said, "You don't know how to confine space, let alone ordinary angels," so the queen developed a simple gravitational wave algorithm and supporting sacred language when she left. Its function is to use some kind of equipment as a carrier to create a gravitational node that can pull objects in the space in front, limiting the high maneuverability of the queen's clone.